And I love how that helps you think. If I just pick one of these 5 spheres or ask them which sphere they're in, all of a sudden you have tons to talk about. And so I'm never ever afraid to go into a meeting because I know what I'm going to talk about, because if it's not one sphere, it's another. And I'm going to be able to draw out the particular pain point they have at that time so we can address it.
This is the Untamed Podcast, where only the few dare to go. We're building a community of adventurous high achievers who refuse to trade our dreams for comfortable mediocrity so that we can unleash our untamed potential. Could you be one of the untamed few? Now, your untamed hosts, Mark Lucas and Joel Fritz.
Untamed few, do you have a mentor? I think all of us want to be the best that we can be, and those of us who have tried to be the best that we can be have found out we never become our full, we never reach our full potential without a guide, without somebody that acts as a mentor, without somebody that acts as a coach. And we're going to talk about that today because Mark and I's lives have really been benefited by a number of people and the way that they've invested into us. So, Mark, you've got something to say, some stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, you and I both. I mean, when you said mentor, and when anybody says the word mentor, there's one specific mentor named Tom that always comes instantly into my mind. And the reality is, Tom, when he came into my life, and I believe wholeheartedly the Lord brought him into my life, when that happened, Joel, at that exact point, my life forever changed. And I became the man that I am today through how catalytic that relationship was. It brought me on to a place of growing in the way that the Lord has been able to grow me, and to be able to understand who I am in my identity, what my calling is, what my purpose is. How do I understand relationships? How do I understand what it is to be a husband, a father? These are all conversations that we wrestled through and had really hard conversations about these very important questions.
Because a good mentor doesn't let you slide by, right? They address the things that you don't want to talk about.
And they're willing to punch you in the nose too. And that's honestly what we need. We need all of it. And I had a good professor at Arizona Christian University. His name was Tim. He would always say that you need a mentor that's going to be a Paul, someone that's older, walked life, maybe has some battle wounds, and you're the Timothy. So older to younger, you need an older mentor that's had maybe a really tough life. We all need a Barnabas. We need somebody that's going to encourage us.
What's up, Barnabas?
We need somebody that's going to encourage us. And then we need, obviously, somebody to be our Timothy. Who's your Timothy? So who's your Paul? Who's your Barnabas? And are you a Timothy to somebody? And I think those are just really good, kind of broad, but really good questions to ask. And I've had to go through seasons of my life where honestly, I don't know if I have a Paul. I don't know if I have a mentor that's older than me, that's walked life a little bit longer than me, that truly is able to, through his stripes and his wounds and what he's experienced in life, to be able to really sharpen me, pour into me. I haven't always had a Timothy. I've been more consistent in my life to always consistently have somebody younger than me. And maybe it's not even in age, but just somebody that I'm a little more mature than they are to be able to pour into them.
Skill level or spirituality.
Skill level, spiritual, Just life in general. I've got a little bit more experience in them.
Yeah.
And I've always coveted and craved a Barnabas. I think men at times, we sometimes neglect it. Someone that really can encourage us. And yet this is a harsh, cynical, critical world that we live in. Dog eat dog type mentality. At the end of the day, men, yes, we can be sarcastic with our brothers and sarcastic with the boys and kind of pick apart each other in love, and that's all fine, and I do it. But at the end of the day, you really need to look in the mirror and say, who is that person that I know, even if I don't ask for or solicit it, they're going to encourage me. And that, for me, his name is Ryan, and I know whenever I need encouragement, I can call Ryan back in Arizona, pick up the phone, send him a text, and within probably a few hours, He will respond back with a phone call. He will listen well to what I'm going through. And then he will just so naturally and beautifully encourage me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the guy who prayed for us this morning?
And that was Pete.
That was Pete. Well,
he's
Ryan
also
or
an
Pete?
encourager
Yeah,
as well.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
But that actually gave me a thought right there. I got to say it out loud. Voice versus text. Reading is one thing, but Mark had a friend and he prayed for our podcast today because we're recording a few podcasts. And so we played that as we were praying for the day. And I thought that was really cool, but it reminds me, we used to have voicemails and hear people's voices, and you can still get a voicemail, but let's be honest, people aren't checking their voicemails the same, right? Yeah. It's fun. And it caught the younger generations, and now it's definitely gone up. Voicemail's not the same. You check your voicemail because you have to, not because you want to. But then there's the voice memos, or messages that you can send through text. And I think that's probably a pretty good thing for us to be aware of and remember, even if you reach out to somebody, but to respond verbally, I like that. I think that's a cool thing. But this whole topic of mentorship is so important because when we want to grow, we want personal development, and we've got to look to those who have gone before us and for the answers. And it makes me think of my earliest mentor. Actually, as we're sitting here, my mind in the back of my mind is like, who are my mentors again? And we start with most recent because maybe that's because our memories are most fresh. But then mine went all the way back to probably one of my first significant mentors that I remember making an impact in my life. And his name was Tom Murrow. And he was my shop teacher in high school. And so I actually started there because he taught the welding class as a freshman. And I remember welding. That was kind of fun. It's just like I had those interests, and right. Thought, hey, this is cool. And also, you're looking for an easy credit,
easy grade,
right? Yeah. And so I remember we had auto shop. We would all sit in the back. It's so pathetic, like you think of some of these. I feel like teachers have such great opportunity for their students. And I can compare my auto shop teacher with Tom Murrow, my welding, or other shop. It was actually computers and welding, all this cool stuff. But I could compare these two. And in auto shop, we would sit in the back of a car and not do anything the entire period, right? Just like hang out with our friends. Right. But in welding, this guy made an impact in my life. Like just because you're the shop teacher does not mean you do not have an important role in your life. And so as the years went on, I stayed in his class, and he actually was on the cutting edge of computer stuff. And back then he taught us AutoCAD. And we did, which is really, like, they still use AutoCAD a lot today in manufacturing, engineering, architecture, everything. So this super relevant stuff we're doing, he made an imprint on my life. And I remember in one situation, I'll tell this brief little story. We went off to a competition in St. Louis. And that night, there was some stuff on TV, and I was watching. I wouldn't quite call it pornography, but, there was some TNA on the screen. And this is so funny as a high schooler, you don't even think twice about it. But Tom Murrow was in the same room. My teacher was in the same room while another guy and I were watching these movies. And the next day, Tom Murrow came up to me. Teacher Tom, like my high school teacher, shop teacher. Mm-hmm. He goes, Joel, I know your mom follows Jesus and your grandmother follows Jesus, but I just want you to know that I don't see any Jesus in your life at all. And I was like,
wow.
What?
It's a bloody nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said punch in the face. Yep. And it makes me think of that.
We need it.
Because did I need that or not? I'll tell you what, my first thought was, who are you to comment on my life like that? What does it matter to you? I'm not claiming to be a practicing Christian, to be a follower of Jesus. That's not where I'm at in my life. But here you come and you comment something like that. I submitted my life wholly and completely to Jesus 2 months later. He was a part of that process. And I think
beautiful.
That's a mentor.
Yeah.
That is the kind of person that you want in your life, because they're not going to let you slide. They're going to make you better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful. That's exactly the purest definition of a mentor, that they're going to make your life better. Mm-hmm. And again, to make your life better, we need to have a combination of a truth teller, because that was a truth telling moment. Mm-hmm. So he was able to stand in the truth. I used to call those people at the office, they're Darth Vader. I feel like they just get so much joy out of just speaking harsh, truthful words.
With the lightsaber
With
cutting
the
you in half.
lightsaber and that really, Luke, use the Force. But at the end of the day, it's just, there's truth tellers that we need in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there's a combination of that truth teller side and then also a grace giver. So I think we have a natural bend towards one or the other. We're either naturally more of a truth teller, like maybe that shop teacher was, Tom, or we have naturally gravitation towards something that's more of a grace giver, like be my buddy Ryan, who's a natural exhorter and encourager in my life. But we need a combination of both.
We need a combination, but it's also investment. So
Mm-hmm.
when I reflect upon it, because I asked that exact question, is the timing in my case and in this moment that I'm talking about, but he had invested 3.5 years in my life at that point.
So he'd earned the right to be heard.
You got it. It was a make or break situation, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
he put all his cards on the table right there. They could probably have ramifications at the administrative level for him.
Today they probably would.
Right. So he had all sorts of all sorts of risk he took in that.
Mhm.
But we were more than 3 years into him investing in my life. So it's like that was the major withdrawal.
Yeah.
That was the major truth telling. But I think he's probably, if I reflect on him, I knew him as a teenager, not as a man, so I can't tell you exactly was he a grace giver or a truth teller, but I think he's probably more of a grace giver. I mean, you got to be somewhat of a grace giver
To be a high school teacher.
to be a high school shop teacher. And watch these
Ton
guys.
of grace.
Oh man,
Ton of grace.
But you're
I think
totally
it's a
right
blend
though.
of both. Yeah,
Yep,
you're right.
It's a blend. You
And
gotta
it
have
is,
it. You
it's
can't
very
have one without the
important.
other.
Yeah, I don't want them to miss that sentence. It's very important that any mentor, any relationship of significance and value, you've earned the right to be heard.
Yeah, that's right.
And it takes several deposits,
Mm-hmm.
maybe hundreds of deposits that you've made relationally in that person's life.
Yeah.
For you to be able to speak the words that are the truth teller words,
Mm-hmm.
the words that Tom spoke to you. So it's really
Right.
important that we understand that. And I always try to balance in relationships, but mentor relationships specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I try to balance a sentence that I didn't make up, but it's a sentence that came from a church that I was a part of. And the sentence is this. I've probably talked about it on the podcast as well. It's love first, lead second, but always do both. And I think that love first, lead second, but always do both, that is this beautiful balance of, in a mentor relationship, there is this understanding of love. There's an unconditional love. There's a love that, hey, I know in our relationship, as I have the privilege to maybe be the Paul, the older, to the Timothy, I know that you're going to make mistakes. I know that even in this relationship, there's going to be things that you regret, things that happen in this relationship. But at the end of the day, I want you to know I love you and I'm for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm for you and I will be for you. I will stand with you, even in the hard times or even the times where we let each other down or you let me down. So there needs to be that level of love in that statement that's made. And that's obviously modeled through actions and words. And then there has to be an understanding of this truth telling. And that's really been the side for me, even in the mentor relationships that I've had the privilege to mentor others, and even the relationships where other people mentor me.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm squeamish to walk into a relationship where somebody's going to mentor me, and I can sense that they just have a strong truth-telling side to them. They have a strong, I'm going to give you a bloody nose side to them. At the end of the day, though, I need those people. We need those people.
Right.
But I also need them to know that there's a blend of that with, I'm standing with you and I will be with you through thick and thin. I am on your side.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in your corner. We are doing the battle together. And I don't ever want you to miss that.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I give you the bloody nose, I don't want you to miss that. So I think it's just a good understanding of kind of that tension and that balance that we have between those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But it should also cause us to think, what kind of mentor do we want to be? Right? All these things that you're talking about, the experiences that I mentioned, should lead us to a place where we're thinking, A, should I mentor? And the answer is yes, because I always go back to that illustration that you gave as well. You got to have your Paul as a Timothy, and then as a Paul, you got to have a Timothy, and then you always need a Barnabas.
Mm-hmm.
So you always need a comrade who's going into the battle with you. You're your encourager. on your side with you.
Yeah.
You always need somebody that you're looking up to because they've gone before you or they have the wisdom that you don't possess, which is a huge part of life. Really acknowledging that you don't have the wisdom that you can have or that you need to get something done, but being willing to go into an area that you don't know and find somebody that does know and attach yourself to them. It's a critical component of success in any facet of life. So there's that, but then also recognizing that we need a Timothy. And we probably don't just need one Timothy. We probably need maybe 3 and something like that. But to be consistently seeking that out, like you said, you said you could be better at that at times in your life. And I know that's the case for me as well. But I think just having that in the back of our mind, asking the question, is there a Timothy in my life? And then seeking it out. And I have some funny stories of people actually asking if I wanted them to mentor me. And I was like, that's a little bit odd. It's you know what I'm saying? Like it's one thing to it's one thing to go and pursue a mentor, right? And they make themselves available. But sometimes there's this bold step that some people have taken, and I think I've taken a couple of them up on it. Not all of them, which means they risked and they didn't, and it didn't pan out, but they were secure enough with themselves to say, hey, I'm available if you want to mentor in this particular area. I think that, I've learned these sorts of things and it would benefit you in this way. And it's like, okay, well, it's an interesting thing because first off, you have to, this person thinks I need a mentor first off, right? And so that's one aspect of it. But then the other is like, that's pretty special that they see me, they recognize me enough to care about me being the best person that I can. So there's always an interesting tension around this whole mentorship thing, because it's not just as cut and dry as you like, because ultimately to seek a mentor, we have to admit that we're not everything we can be, right? We have not learned all that we can know. We have not experienced all that we can experience. And we need to learn from somebody who has. And then there's the other side of it where we need to give of ourselves voluntarily and even risk in that fashion. And it's quite a balance, but it's something I will be eternally grateful for to that guy Tom and the other people in my life. And it wouldn't be appropriate, I guess, for me to try and list every mentor because I'll eventually miss somebody. But there are so many in my life at different stages of life, and I am just thankful.
Yeah, as am I. I think at the end of the day, we just know, and those listening in right now, life is so much richer and so much fuller when we have a Paul and a Timothy and a Barnabas. So I think if you can't right now identify who they are, who is your Paul, who is your Timothy, and again, even pushing yourself to say you have multiple Timothys, who is your Barnabas, who's your encourager, if you really can't articulate with some clarity and names of who those individuals are, just begin to really pray, seek out who could be somebody that I could do life with, learn from their experiences. They've walked longer in these areas of life. They have more maturity and wisdom in these areas of life. And I'm going to take them to lunch, and I'm going to ask them at the end of lunch, hey, would you consider mentoring me and pouring into me in these ways, and be specific in these ways? I've seen this in you. I've observed this in you. Would you be interested in mentoring me in these ways? And I think if it's done with genuine humility and authenticity, and you've really observed some things that you're acknowledging in the ways that you want to grow, I'm venturing to say that you're going to get a resounding yes from that person that is older and wiser than you in that area of your life, to say, yeah, I'd love that. I'm honored. I'm honored that you would even ask, and I'm encouraged that you notice these things in my life. And then on the other side of the Timothy side, really begin to navigate and seek and really pray about, Lord, who are the people in my life that are already in my life, or people that you would bring into my life that could be a Timothy, someone that I would take the coffee or lunch once a month, every other week, once a week, whatever the time frame is. And I would just with a little more wisdom and experience, I would just begin to share the personal experiences that I've grown into and grown through. And I'd be able to kind of bring them underneath my wing and share some things with them.
Yeah.
And then an encourager piece. I mean, same thing. Who's going to encourage you?
Right.
And who can you be an encourager to?
Yeah.
These are life-giving, life-fulfilling conversations that you need to have with yourself. I need to have with myself and say, okay, I've got to keep growing. So my week one right now is understanding who that Paul is in my life.
Yeah.
The Timothys, the Barnabas, those are crystal clear right now. And I'm open for more, but they're crystal clear right now who the ones are that I can identify just like that.
Yeah.
But the Paul, it's a little fuzzy. There's actually a call that I have even just next week, a Zoom call with somebody that I've met just recently here in Atlanta. He's recently retired in the last 5 years. And he's somebody that does come to mind as possibly someone that I would really enjoy him mentoring me in some areas.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I actually have a suggestion for anybody who's listening who doesn't have a Paul and wants to figure out like this question of how would I find a Paul, or what kind of mentor? Let's make it more simple like that. How would I pick and choose a mentor? And that's one of the reasons, actually, this mentorship that we're talking about is one of the reasons that the five spheres of life developed, which is something that we use in our coaching models. But in the 5 spheres, if you look through the 5 spheres, you can actually say and ask at any given time, which of the 5 spheres do I need improvement in? And that actually narrows like who you might look to as a potential mentor for the time. So like one of the spheres is career and finance. Okay. So, I mean, if your finances are struggling or you're struggling in your career, you want to make the next step.
Right.
It's actually an easy concept to capture that the smoke is, it's on it.
Getting you.
But that's an easy thing to see. Well, I need a career type of a mentor right now. Like I want to be the best that I can be in my career. For me, I can explain that very clearly in that I sought out a real estate mentor. And that's very common to do in business, is that you go, well, I want to get here faster than I can get on my own. Right. And so I need somebody to tell me how to do it because they've been down that road. Makes a lot of sense. So maybe you need a career financial mentor, right? You know, maybe you need a spiritual mentor. What about a physical mentor? And what's interesting is in any one of those areas, if it guides you towards somebody, typically that person will fill a mentorship role in other spheres in your life as well.
Right.
And so that's something that I've always thought is really cool. And then when it comes to mentoring people, like I think a lot of times we are hesitant to mentor somebody because we don't know what we would do with them. But ultimately, one of the biggest things we can do is just share our life stories and ask about their lives, right? So if we come to the table and all we do is talk, like no mentee, you know, like no apprentice wants to just sit and listen to somebody talk all the time. They want to share what they're going through and then have you help them process through it. That's just how we work as human beings. And then your stories become relevant, and then your experience becomes relevant to what they're going through at the moment. But we have a tendency also in those relationships to just kind of sit at the table and swap stories back and forth, which also doesn't feel like forward motion. And so I've learned to use the 5 spheres by sitting down with a mentee, you know, as a mentor, and sitting down and asking them, which one of these are you dealing with most? And they will be able to then identify. And you know what happens also if you have a meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, and it's always the same sphere that they're talking about, you can comment on that and say, it seems like every time we sit down, we're talking about the relationship with your wife, and we're only dealing with one sphere of your life. What about this one? What about this one? Maybe you ought to give some thought to the physical sphere, because it seems like that would benefit you in your life, and all the different things that you want to talk about, whether, you know, then this area might need some attention. And I love how that helps you think. If I just pick one of these 5 spheres or ask them which sphere they're in, all of a sudden you have tons to talk about. And so I'm never ever afraid to go into a meeting, because I know what I'm going to talk about, because if it's not one sphere, it's another. And I'm going to be able to draw out the particular pain point they have at that time so we can address it.
Yeah. No, it's been super helpful for us and a really good tool to look at those 5 spheres and then to really assess where you're anemic and need growth. Where's a place of tension? Where's a place that you're really navigating? How do I get unstuck in this area? How do I really grow in this area? And also to see in the 5 spheres that really they all are connected.
Mm-hmm.
We've looked at kind of the center and then these rose petals that kind of come all the way around and connect all the spheres together. So it's a really, it's a good evaluation tool. It's a really good place for us to assess where we need a mentor and even where we can be a mentor to somebody else as well. So it's great.
Well, I'm loving this, but maybe
great
we just need to put the ball in their court. Yeah. The fire has been great.
Fire's been great.
But if you don't have the mentor, seek them out. If you don't have a person that you're pouring into, think about it. It's important. And if you don't have a comrade, we all know we need that. We spend a lot of time talking about it. Go find them.
I appreciate you, Untamed Few.
Yeah.